back everybody to my channel, and for those that don't know me, I'm Deb from Project Life Deb's Way, and I do a scrapbooking system where I use the Project Life plastic sleeve system. And this time I've done a male themed layout for everyone, and I'll give you a quick look. And as you see, I've used lots of cogs and things and tickets and everything else. So it really is a lovely paper line, but it is, I'll give you a nice close look at some of the cogs and things that I've done. And I've used embossing powder, which I've mixed sort of some brassy tones and some gold and etc., and mix them all together. And I used craft and black cardstock to actually sort of colour my cogs and etc. The paper line that I've used is from Paper Rose, called Morning Memories, and as you can see, it is a floral, but there isn't any florals in my layout this time, which, as everybody that knows me, is quite unusual. So I'll show you all the papers that I've used, and we will make the cards from start to finish, and you'll finish with a complete layout when you've done. So I do hope you enjoy this process. So let's get on with having a look at the papers, and then we'll get on with making our cards. Here's a nice look at the layout for you, so you can have a good close look before we start making the cards. So here's a look at the papers that we have used. I've used the Paper Rose Morning Memories, and as you can see, I've used these sheets here, plus the black for my photo mats, and also craft as well. I went onto my computer and actually made up some of these, because I actually have used some cogs and that die cuts, and also a die cut clock as well, which you will see me use as we go through the layout. So let's get on with making our cards. Now we're going to start on card number 1, which is my title card, or eye candy card as I call them. Now I have a 6x4 in the black, and then I've cut a 5 3/4 by 3 1/4, so that we have that border that runs all around. So I'll attach that straight away onto my base card. Once I've done that, I've actually got some of the brown cardstock, which I put one of the stamps that I have in smoke grey, just to give me some texture on that. And this card is 5 1/4 by 3 1/4. And that goes centered into the card. Now before I put that fully down, I cut a piece of the striped paper just to give me a bit of an accent, which I want underneath here. Now the size of this is 2 3/4 by 3. Now all of my cards that are on papered cardstock, I have distressed with ink very, very strongly, and this is going to go straight over the card here. So when I put this card down, it will give you a split card. Now I've got all my base cards down, I will start putting my ephemera on. Now I've done a clock, and I have virtually used some sprays of copper and the mica with some brown, with a bit of mica powder in it. And I've also used for the cogs these great Tim Holtz distress stains. They're quite lovely. They're a stain with a sponge top. And as you can see, they're quite dark in colour. And what I did is I just, some of my cogs are in black. I've done some in plain gold, and I've also done some in the craft, which, as you can tell, and then I mixed together, is called Age Green Embossing Enamel, and I just put some extra gold into that and just sprinkled a little bit of the embossing powder on my distress stain and heated it up, which gave me that rusty look on my cogs. So I'll just get rid of all that powder I put on my work surface. Now what I'm going to do is, with the clock, I actually did on my computer, you can't put back the clock, but you can wind it up. And that is going onto my card like so. I'm going to put my remember the moment down here, which of course I haven't inked yet. So I'll just ink to make that stand out. See, it does make it stand out that little bit. And then before I stick anything down, I normally sort of pop where I want my cogs. I have a lot. And then once I'm happy with the placement, of my cogs and my remember. Now I'm going to put a bit of mounting tape on these. Particularly my larger clock. And also my little saying as well. So I'm going to put my clock on first because that is the central part of this card. Like that. Then I will get my Tom Blue glue and start picking off my cogs. And attaching them to my card. And then I sort of work my way through my cogs. So that I'm happy with their placement. And what you do is you overlay your cogs so that some of your gears are actually interconnecting. That's why glue is quite important with this, because it's very difficult to get these cogs okay. That's the last of the cogs. I'm going to pop that one into the middle. Then I will put my last of my little signage pieces on. Now I also want inside my cogs, just to finish this off, I will be using some brads. Now the easiest way is to get a cork mat. And then you can actually poke your little brads into the center of your cogs. Now, if you haven't got brads, you could actually use the little gold half circles. They would work just as well. I'm having a lot of trouble getting these brads to actually go in the holes, because some of them have got a bit bent. There you go. Now once you've got all your brads in, what you can then do is then turn your piece over and then splay your brads out. Now I do suggest that once you have got your brads into place, you just get some of your double-sided tape and tape over the top of your brads. The reason being, if you don't, you will catch your card when you're putting it into your folder, and you can rip the other card. So what I tend to do is I just put a little bit of tape over the top of my brads, and that saves all of that heartache that it could cause. And there we have card number 1 complete. Now we're going to start card number 2, and all I've got is 2 strips of stripe, and I just used wood grain, and 2 on the actual side. And we're going to make a cornered picture frame. Now it's much easier if you actually have your photograph, because then you'd have your 6x4 and you'd just actually stick this in situ straight away. So what we have to do is put a tiny piece of tape in the center, but 2 separate pieces on all the ends of your stripes. So because I don't want this actually attached to my card, I'm going to have to do this slightly differently than you would do if your photograph was in place. So we are going to put these two pieces here. Then you would attach the center of this piece. Now what I'm going to do to keep this in position, I'm just going to bend back a little bit of that tape, like so, to attach to this card. So line up that card. Now what we have to do now is draw a line. Now the line that you will be drawing is from this corner here to this corner here. Make sure that you have your piece. So then you put a dot and at the corner, and take your ruler and rule the line and repeat. Again with the other side. So you'll end up with a card that has two ruled lines. What you must do then is you get your scissors and you cut that corner off, and that corner off as well. Now you can take that card and get your other strip and do exactly the same with this strip. There we have most of your frame prepared. So what we have to do is lay this one up the top. Now if you had an obvious stripe, you would make sure that the stripes were in the same position. So if that had a squiggly line on the edge, your squiggly line on the edge would be up towards the top. Now what we have to do now is attach this where it needs to be. Then we line up our bottom piece and we take off that tape put this where it needs to be and lay that piece on. Now this piece has the same as well, so we just take off just put that back so it doesn't stick. Hold and put that from the correct position of where the card is going to fit with your 6x6. And there you have an absolutely brilliantly mitered corner frame. Now take this off of your piece of paper. So when you attach it, you have your tape. So you'd put your photograph in and pop your frame over the top. And this is absolutely amazing if you have definite stripes, because you can actually get them to meet in the corner. Absolutely spot on. So there is card number 2, and also this will be repeated in card number 6. So that's card number 2 and card number 7. Sorry, I'll get it right in a minute. Card number 7. So the same process is used. The only difference is card number 7 will be a... Now we're going to do card number 3. So I've just cut from the striped cardstock a stripe. Now my stripe, this layout is always going downwards, so wherever I cut in the stripe will always go downwards. Now I have done my base card. Now I just used a embossing folder to get this, and then just put some of this distress stain on there, and then rubbed a bit of this over the top, which gave me the raised darker edges there. Because this is going to be a male theme, I thought that would go really, really well with all my cogs and things. Now this is 4 by 3.5, and this is going over on the side with about 1/4 inch border all the way around, because I want to put my ephemera on this side of the card. Now I have got a 3 by 4 photo mat here, and this is going to go once again, leaving roughly the same amount of border on the pieces. Now to this I've added a tag, which I'm just going to pop here. So I'll put a bit of tape on this. There we go. And I'm just going to slide that underneath. The snapshot, I'm going to put a bit of tape on the top, and this is going to go over here up the top. Now I'm making sure that when I put this down, I don't get any of my tape underneath my ephemera there, so I can get my photograph in. I might even bring that slightly across. There we have that. Then I'm going to build my cogs, and then I've just got this moment. And as soon as I'm sort of happy with my cogs, I'm going to glue those down again with my glue. Then I'm going to put a bit of mounting tape once again on my saying. Making sure everything is attached down as good as it can get. Put a little bit more glue on that. And there we have card number 3 finished. Now this is card number 4. I have got my 6x4 in the black for my base card. Then I cut from a craft, I cut a 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. I then cut from the blue paper, I cut a piece of 5 3/8 by 3 3/8, and I have inked around the edges. I also had a bit of this stripe paper, which I'm going to put side by side so I can actually cut a piece. I'm just going to get this to measure correctly, which it doesn't, of course. So I'm going to make this roughly a 2-inch strip so that it actually is even. There we go. Now it's even. And I haven't done the edges of this either, so I'm just going to distress the edges on the 3 sides. There we go. Done. So how I do this, once again, I've got my 6x4 base card. I will pop my craft card on. I'm going to center that. Then I have got my blue, which just has that tiny border all the way around. Unfortunately, when I was doing this for the video, I cut this a little bit crooked, so I will actually correct that when I'm off camera. Now this piece here, I want to slide these to go the full width of the card. So I'm just going to take these off and pop that a bit off center, and then do the same on the other side. Once again, make that even to the other side, and there we have built our beautiful base card. So then my photo mat now will go in like that, and I might just drop this a little bit. Yep. Then I've got my 3x4 photo mat. As you can tell, this is a very much a masculine orientated layout. I have got just, this one's very simple. I've got my little ticket. So I'm going to put a piece of tape on that, attach that. This is just from some stamps I have. Ticket stamps are always good. You use them a lot. Just pop that down. Now on my computer, I just did some writing in white with some coloured paper and put a black edging on it. It's very simple to do on your computer through Word. Then I had a piece of that little cardstock in the craft left over. So I turned it over, and I'm just going to make that to edge this. Then this is going to go here over the top of my photo there. So what I'm going to do with that, I will put a little bit of foam tape making sure that I've got room to put my photograph underneath the item. So when my photograph goes in, I've just got to make these photographs slightly larger because they've turned out a bit too small. That will go like that on my layout. Now we're doing card number 5A and 5B, and as you know, in Australia we're having trouble getting our pocket pages, so I'm having to do a 6x4 one, whereas I used to do the 3x4 double pocket. But you can make it look like that so that your album looks the same. So I've just got my 6x4 in the craft. Then in the pale blue, I cut my 3x4 and I've inked around the edges in my archival brown ink with ground espresso. Now this one here, you just need to put on top of that craft card to start with. So we just pop that on like so. Then I have done from the 2 pieces of craft 6x4, which I put through an embossing folder with some of the distress inks, and then I put some dark black just over the top to highlight the little black ridges. Just to give a bit of texture. And that is a 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 piece. I'll just pop that on like that. Now my photo mat is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and that goes straight onto the other side in the center, like so. And that actually gives us our base card to build our ephemera on. Now I've got 2 tickets, a ticket and a tag, which I'm just going to lay onto my piece like this. And I have got one of the cogs I made, one of the other cogs, and I'm just going to put a little saying, "Be yourself," a circular button like so. So I will glue them all down, and I may actually raise this one higher than the others, so I'll just attach those. Sorry about this, I normally have all of my taping done. Okay. Right, we'll stick these down. And we will glue our cog. Glue the other cog down. Unfortunately, my glue is running low and it's getting very hard to get it out. Now with this one, I'll just pop that over the top. Might even change that and put the other cog on the top like that. Now this I want to raise just slightly. So I have got my thinner foam tape, which is about half the size, or you can actually get that now in lovely little foam dots ready to go as well these days. So it's just slightly thinner than the thicker dots that you have. Which with your Project Life, these dots are fantastic. So we just raise that just slightly. Now, there we have our cards for 5A and for 5B done. Now I'm just going to add an extra piece in here, and I want to slide, this came from the bottom of the brown sheet of paper just here, so I'm just going to stick this underneath. So I'm just going to peel, which you can do with this tape until tomorrow, and then it really sticks. So I'm just going to pop that underneath, slide it underneath, attach, and then I'm going to fold it under and then attach that card. And this one I can fold just to the back, like that. Just adds that little something extra in that spot. So now we're going to do our 5C and 5D. So I have got my 6x4 base card in the blue. Then I have a 3x4 light blue that we're going to attach to that card. Now I've distressed the edges again with ink. Then I have my 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 black photo mat. Now I have here, this happens to be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 in the brown, which I've done my inking to. So that goes in the middle. Now, once again, I've forgotten this strip, so I'll just undo that for a little bit. I have got the strip which has come from one of these sheets. It was another one that had this edging. So I've just taken a bit of that, which gives you a nice 5-inch strip. I'm just going to pop this on the card and just fold it over. To the back. Now I have got this good day, it's a good day to have a good day, and I've put some of that half foam tape on there to raise it up a little bit. So we'll just take that off. I'm going to pop that sort of slightly off center. And then I can work out where I want my cogs. And once I've worked out where I want those to go, I can actually stick those down. Now this one, I've got some of that foam tape yet again. Now I do want a brad popped into this one, and also a brad into this one as well. So I've put my brads in, and as you can see, it does make a bit of a difference to your layout. So now we get on to our left hand part of our layout. Now we're on to card number 6, which I've just used some of the stripe, and then I have got my 3x4 photo mat, which I have put onto another mat that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So I'll just pop my photo mats on together. So just center that, and there is your photo mat. Now this one I want to pop down the bottom with a nice even border all the way around, and just keep that top loose because we need to put our ephemera. So I've got a ticket here that came from my stash, a tag, so I'm popping that one down first. Then I've got a ticket, which once again I have just stamped, cut out, and then tea dyed. And I've got 2 of my cogs, which I'm going to place like so. So I will glue those down with some glue, and of course once again I'm going to pop some brads on these. That is once I get my glue working. I keep on picking up the wrong one. I probably should have got myself some new glue. Just put these on, slide that one underneath and get them so they're just overlapping. And then I'm going to get my 2 brads. And then poke my little braddies into my little cork mat. And of course I won't be able to get this one in, of course. There we go. Then I can turn them over. Pop my tape over the brad hooks. There we have card number 6 complete. Now we're on to card number 8, and with this one, all it is a 6x4, a 5 and a 4 3/4 by a 3 3/4 card, and I need to distress the edges, which I haven't done as yet. So I'm just going to ink the edges up. It just makes the cards pop out a little bit. So we need to pop that onto our card centered. Once again, you can see I've done my inking on there just to give it a bit of texture. Now I've got a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo mat, which is going down the bottom of the card with the border all around. Now up the top here, I've got 3 cogs. I'm going to just place, and then I've got explore. Now the explore, I'm just backing with a bit of black, and I need to distress that as well. Then I've put some of that lovely little mounting tape on there. So now I will stick my cogs on. Tuck one underneath. Get my next one. Sort of get your cogs working. And then pop your explore over the top. And once again, you need to get a little pokey and put 3 brads in the holes. poke them in. As soon as you've got all three, you can flip your card. Splay them open. And once again, just pop your tape quickly over the top. And there we have number 8 finished. Now we're on to card number 9. Now it has a 6x4 base card, a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 craft card. And as you know, I normally don't ink the edges of my cardstock, so this one just goes onto your base card centered. I then have the blue, which is 5 1/4 by 3 1/4, and that will go on that base card centered again. I have my photo mat, which is a 3x4 photo mat. And with your photographs, if you have the 3x4s, you just need to trim your photograph down just that fraction to give the little black border. So we put our photo mat at the top. Now I have got a little tag piece there, which you need to put your tape right at the top. I'll just move that across slightly so that you can actually get your photograph underneath. Now I have done, once again, from the name tag, I've just cut the bottom piece off to give me a strip. I also have a piece of the embossed paper I made, and that is a 4 by an inch. I'm just going to lay that across. Then I am going to put this one over the middle and fold it under. And then I have got my memory word, which I've inked around the edges and just backed it in black. And I'm going to put a couple of those foam dots on there to raise it up. And I'm just going to center that. And there we have card number 9 complete. So now we're going to do our smaller 3x4 cards, and once again, because we're in Australia, I've had to use my 6x4s to make these pockets look exactly the same as the 3. If you have 3x4 pockets, you would just cut this card in half to do this. So once again, I have got my 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 in the brown, which I have done my stamping on, which will go in the bottom part of that card. And then I have got my 3 5/8 by 2 5/8 photo card, like so. Now I've got a little piece of blue which roughly is just over 1 1/4 by about 2 1/2. And I just wanted some extra colour, so that just gets popped just in that corner. Now, as you can tell with this, I've got quite a bit of ephemera. I've got a couple, and I've cut a ticket in half, a Paris sticker, Life is Amazing, which I did on my computer, and some of my cogs. And lucky enough, in my cogs I have this little fan, which is rather nice, and this one, so I thought I'd use those. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put my tickets down the bottom, Life is Amazing just there, and then I'm going to lay my cogs in a strip across here. So I'll get these stuck down first. And I seem to have lost my tape. Now we're on to our last card for 10D and 10C. Now this one's a fairly easy one. It has a bit of ephemera there, but we have got our 3 5/8 by 2 5/8 photo mat at the top. Then we have our 3 by 4 in the pale blue, which matches up with the other side layout. Then I have popped some of that card that I made at the bottom, and that is 3 3/4 by roughly 2 inches. So that goes in the bottom. Now with the ephemera, I'm going to pop the tag here. Most of us have gears we never use, which I just typed up on and put it on some card. Then I'm going to pop sort of 3 cogs like that on there. So once you're happy with your layout, start sort of sticking everything down. Now, because this is raised, I'm going to stick my cogs on first. Hopefully this glue will come down. Right. So we'll just stick these down. Once we've got those stuck, we can take off our foam bits. And once again, we need to put our brads in. Now I've decided with my brads to put 2 small brads in, but we need a bigger brad. So I'm going to put a bigger brad in on that large cog there. I think a little brad would look absolutely lost in this. Yeah, it definitely needs that big brad. So there we have our brad, and then we can put our smaller brads Here we have our finished layout for those that have actually done the video and followed me through the process. So I do hope you enjoyed this layout, and please don't forget to subscribe and like my channel, because then you'll actually get notifications when I put my next video up. So until next time, keep crafting. Bye.